All right, Gothamites and Night fans, buckle up, because tonight we're diving deep into Dr. Peeler Wilson. We've been trying to figure her out for weeks, and things just keep getting weirder. Our anonymous source just sent us something unbelievable, a recording of Dr. Wilson and Oswald Cobblepot. You know him as the Penguin. This was recorded secretly inside Arkham Asylum.
This recording is amazing. We finally get to hear Dr. Wilson in her own words, and she's talking to a patient. It's a totally unguarded moment, raw, unfiltered access to her thoughts and her, how do I put this, her eccentricities.
Yeah, eccentric is one way to put it. Remember all those rumors we've heard about Dr. Wilson? This wasn't just your typical Gotham gossip. People were saying she was unusually perceptive, like she knew things about the patients that she shouldn't have known.
Exactly, like she had access to information that was impossible to get. And this recording might explain it all. She talks about dimensions and other realities casually.
All right, let's not jump ahead. Let's hear it for ourselves. The recording starts with Dr. Wilson talking about Arkham, the atmosphere. Definitely strange. And listen to Penguin's reaction. He's surprised. Right. It's like this isn't the first time she's blurred the lines between staff and inmates. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't even react to his surprise.
Like she's used to people thinking she's a little different, which reminds me of those nicknames the inmates gave her, Bride and Bunny.
Yeah, Bride because she's married to her job, and Bunny because she's always running around.
These nicknames tell you a lot about her. It's not just what she says, it's how the inmates see her.
Absolutely. And don't forget, this is Arkham's. We're talking about a place that's known for chaos and for its unpredictable inmates. For her to be so focused and constantly on the move, it suggests she's almost obsessively dedicated to her role.
Mm-hmm. Then the conversation takes a dark turn. They start talking about solitary confinement. The inmates call it the meat freezer. Ugh. It's chilling how casually Dr. Wilson talks about this brutal punishment. It's really disturbing. We have to remember the damage solitary confinement does to people. Studies show that being isolated for too long causes anxiety, paranoia, hallucinations. But Dr. Wilson makes it sound like it's just another day at Arkham.
It's a reminder of how dark things are inside Arkham.
Yeah.
This is not a place for the faint of heart. And Dr. Wilson, she seems totally comfortable in that environment. Then they mention Dr. Hugo Strange. It seems like he's disappeared.
Even Penguin sounds nervous about Strange's absence. And Dr. Wilson brushes it off. Like it's just a normal thing, like nothing to worry about. Remember, Hugo Strange isn't just any doctor. He's a mysterious, powerful figure. Even hardened criminals are afraid of him. And his disappearance is met with silence. It makes you think about the secrecy and control within Arkham. Yeah. A culture that Dr. Wilson clearly seems to be a part of, but then the recording takes a turn for the truly unbelievable.
Wait, did she just say 5,000 years old? I mean, come on. Even for Gotham, this is crazy.
It's a ridiculous claim. It's impossible. But remember, we're talking about Arkham, where reality is distorted. Could she be delusional? Is this a symptom of something else? Or is there something more to it?
Penguin's reaction is priceless. He's just as shocked as we are. A demon. Okay, now I'm starting to think those rumors about her age might be true, however strange they might sound.
It's a crazy explanation, but it could tell us a lot about her mental state. Imagine living for centuries, witnessing countless wars, plagues, societal collapses. That kind of experience could really mess with your perception of reality.
So she says she can't die. She calls it a curse, and then she drops another bomb. She claims she's met other versions of the Penguin in different dimensions.
Dimensions, alternate realities. This is getting deeper and deeper by the second. And those rumors about Dr. Wilson knowing too much about the patients, could this be the answer?
It's a crazy idea, but what if it's true? She'd have access to information that's beyond anything we can understand.
Exactly. And this could explain everything.
Look at how calmly she talks about being immortal. And Penguin, he's skeptical, but he's also drawn in.
He's trying to make sense of it all, just like we are.
Okay, this is where things get really wild.
She just owns it. No doubt, no hesitation.
And there's something bold about it. A confidence that goes beyond the normal Arkham power dynamic.
Like she's not bound by the same rules of reality as everyone else.
It's not just talk, either. She says she has proof, pictures of different penguins, different Oswalds from these other realities.
She's documenting these encounters. It's like she has tangible evidence. It adds another layer of complexity to an already mind-blowing situation.
I know, right? Pictures of other penguins. And here's the kicker. She's not just watching these alternate realities. She's trying to interfere. She says she tries to fix these criminals to help them choose a different path.
It's like she's some kind of cosmic therapist traveling between dimensions to save these lost souls. It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
We've covered a lot, but we've just scratched the surface. When we come back, we'll dig into Dr. Wilson's fixing methods, her encounters with other penguins, And what it all means, don't go anywhere, folks. This is about to get even weirder.
Welcome back to our deep dive into this Arkham recording. We left off with Dr. Wilson saying she has pictures of other versions of Oswald from different dimensions, and she hinted that she tries to guide these other penguins onto a different path.
It's like she's playing this cosmic game of rehabilitation, hopping between realities to steer these criminals away from crime. But how does she actually fix them? Well, her methods are just as strange as her whole worldview.
This is where her role as a therapist gets really interesting. She's not just treating Oswald in Arkham, she's trying to influence the lives of his counterparts in other realities.
It's like she sees something similar in all these different Oswalds, like a shared essence. And she feels this need to step in, to help them get a better outcome. Listen to this. She finds them legal jobs.
Wow, can you believe that? She's not just watching these realities, she's actively changing them. It's like she's playing God with existence itself.
And she's so casual about it. Like it's no big deal. She's met around 50 different penguins. What are the odds?
It's hard to believe, but so much of what we've heard in this recording defies logic. The interesting thing is that Penguin believes her. He's a man who's not easily fooled by outlandish stories.
I know. He's skeptical, but there's something in his voice. Like a tiny bit of belief. It's like he senses something genuine about her, something that goes beyond her bizarre claims. But here's where things get even more interesting. She tells him about a specific penguin, a woman who ran a floating casino and had a tragic end.
This story feels like a warning. It reminds us that even in other realities, crime is dangerous. And even though she tries to fix these criminals, Dr. Wilson admits that some of them don't want her help.
Yeah, it's a big contrast to how she talks about traveling between dimensions and being friends with penguins. It's like she's trying to balance her idealism with the harsh truth of the criminal world.
And this female penguin, she's fascinating. A powerful woman who's ultimately betrayed by her own son. It shows that even the toughest criminals are vulnerable to the complications of human relationships.
This woman is like a dark mirror of Oswald. Both ambitious, both surrounded by followers, but ultimately alone because of their choices.
It's a brutal reminder that even with all the fantastical stuff Dr. Wilson talks about, human nature stays the same. We're all capable of love and cruelty.
But then in the middle of all this talk about betrayal and violence, something surprising happens. Dr. Wilson notices something in Oswald's behavior, a vulnerability she hasn't seen before.
This is where her skills as a therapist really shine. She's not just telling a story, she's observing him. And she realizes that Oswald's reaction is more than just curiosity. There's something deeper going on.
She's picking up on his loneliness, his isolation. This is Oswald Cobblepot the penguin, a man who built his empire on fear. But in this moment, he's letting himself be vulnerable. He's connecting with another person on an emotional level.
It shows you how good Dr. Wilson is at creating a safe space. Even in Arkham, she's not judging him, she's just listening, offering compassion to someone who rarely gets to be truly seen.
And then we get to one of the most revealing parts of this whole recording. Oswald confesses.
He admits that he's lonely, that he's never let himself get close to anyone. He's built walls around his heart because he thinks vulnerability is weakness. But those walls have also trapped him.
It's heartbreaking. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Even those of us who haven't been in Arkham or built criminal empires, that fear of intimacy, that struggle to connect with others, it's a human thing.
And Dr. Wilson, she gets it in her own way. She doesn't offer simple solutions. She meets him where he is. She acknowledges how complicated his emotions are.
She helps him see his loneliness not as a failure, but as a result of his life and experiences. She even mentions a midlife crisis, which is something most of us can relate to at some point.
It's true. The way these themes connect to everyone is what makes this recording so fascinating. We're hearing about alternate dimensions and demons, but we're also seeing our own struggles, our own fears and insecurities reflected back at us.
Of course, Oswald being Oswald has to question if a midlife crisis is even a real thing.
His skepticism makes sense. He's lived a life that defies convention, so the idea of these predictable stages of life might seem strange to him.
It's like Dr. Wilson is showing him a whole new way to understand himself.
Exactly. And she's patient with him. She explains that these feelings are common, especially for someone his age. She's validating him, helping him see that he's not alone.
But instead of pushing him to talk more, right, then she suggests something unexpected. Writing.
That's brilliant. It shows that she understands him. He's a man who loves control. Writing lets him stay in control while exploring his inner world.
It's a safe way for him to process his emotions, to face these uncomfortable truths without feeling exposed. Honestly, I'm really curious to see if he actually takes her advice.
Me too.
We're finishing up our deep dive into that crazy Arkham recording with Dr. Wilson and Oswald Cobblepot.
It was a really smart move, especially for someone like Oswald, who's all about control.
And it sounds like Oswald's actually into it.
This is where things get a bit complicated. Dr. Wilson's encouraging him to open up, but she's also reminding him that she has to follow rules.
It's a tricky situation, especially in Arkham. She seems to really care about him. But she knows he's a dangerous criminal.
She's asking him to confide in her, maybe even reveal crimes, but she also has to tell him that she might have to report him. It's a weird dynamic.
And the way she says it, it's not like I care that much about the law. It makes you wonder whose side she's really on.
Totally. It adds to the mystery, the way she bends the rules. It's part of what makes her so interesting.
But even with all that, Oswald seems to trust her. He even acknowledges her obligations. It's amazing that Oswald is willing to be so open with her. This is a guy who built his empire on secrets.
It shows how strong their connection is. She's made him feel safe enough to let his guard down.
And then, just when you think you understand this whole dimension-hopping therapist thing, she drops another bomb. She's been frank with other versions of them, other penguins from other dimensions.
It's like she's confirming that those realities aren't just theories to her. She's lived them. She's met these other Oswalds, and she's been frank with them. What does that even mean? What secrets has she shared?
And what about those other penguins? Were they all criminals too? Did they listen to her fixing methods? There are so many possibilities.
What I find interesting is how she separates their relationship in Arkham from being friends outside. It's like she knows their current dynamic isn't balanced, and that real friendship can only happen when they're equals.
But even with that boundary, there's a sense of hope in her words. Like maybe their connection could become something more. He's definitely interested, maybe even a little flattered. He's used to people fearing him, respecting him, but not really being his friend. And now Dr. Wilson is offering him that chance, the human connection he's been missing.
And the way she describes it, we good friends, it's so casual. Like being friends with alternate versions of criminals is totally normal for her.
It makes you wonder what those other penguins were like. Were they as ruthless as our Oswald? Or did they find a different way maybe with Dr. Wilson's help?
She brings up the sad reality of her life. She makes these close connections, but she knows she'll have to move on eventually, leaving them behind as she goes to other dimensions.
It sounds lonely, even with all those friends. But there's also freedom in her words. A willingness to embrace the unknown, to keep exploring, to keep connecting with people, even if it's just for a little while.
And in a way, she's offering that same freedom to Oswald, the freedom to choose a new path, to break free from the world of crime that's always defined him.
But will he take that chance? Will he use this opportunity to change? We don't know. The recording ends with that question still unanswered. So what do you think, Gothamites at Night fans? Will Oswald listen to Dr. Wilson and try writing? Will they meet again outside of Arkham? And will we ever find out if Dr. Wilson's really immortal, if she really does travel between dimensions?
The answers, like always in Gotham, are still a mystery. But this recording has given us a look into the mind of one of the city's most mysterious people, and it's left us with more questions than answers.
That's what makes it so great. The mystery keeps us coming back. So keep those theories coming, folks. Head to our social media and tell us what you think. And don't miss the next episode of Gothamites at Night, where we'll keep exploring the dark side of Gotham City and the strange and often scary lives of its people. Until then, sleep tight. And remember, Gotham's secrets are always hiding in plain sight.
Good night, Gothamites.